start playing Sonic the Hedgehog. Everything else seems a little bit slow.
While we're waiting, I'd just like to point out that you can now get the Sega Mega Drive, Master System or Game Gear with Sonic included.
Don't worry, I'll catch him.
And remember, you can now get Sonic with your Sega. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to ReplayRetro. I'm Matt, and on this week's show we take a look at the winner of the 16-bit console wars with a review of the Sega Mega Drive. In 1983, the Nintendo Entertainment System had brought console gaming back to Western markets with massive success, and for the most part had seen off challenges with little difficulty, including the Sega Master System. Nintendo seemed to have a tight monopoly grip on the gaming market, which couldn't be shaken. But Sega weren't ready to throw in the towel just yet, and in 1988 revealed their new 16-bit system in Japan, around the same time as NEC were preparing to launch their TurboGrafx 16 in the West. While Sega's hardware was based on a scaled-down version of their System 16 arcade architecture, allowing for easy arcade game porting, Nintendo believed the NEC system was a far bigger threat to their interests due to the massive R&D costs from its creator, and largely ignored the Mega Drive, believing it posed little to no threat. And in Japan, it seemed that they were right, as the Famicom remained the #1 console. Then, in 1989, Sega offered Atari the chance to release the hardware under their own brand in America, but CEO Jack Tramiel thought the deal was too expensive and too risky, instead choosing to invest in the ST series of microcomputers. By 1990, Sega were ready to take the console to the West themselves, changing its name to Genesis in the US to avoid copyright issues, where it was retailed for $189 and was aggressively marketed as doing what Nintendo don't. While in the UK, the Mega Drive name was kept, as the system retailed for $189.99, with the key marketing slogan, "To be this good takes ages, to be this good takes Sega." And the adverts were given a more surreal style, including Jimmy the video game addict seen at the start of this episode, and the bizarre barber dishing out the cyber razor cut. Another key aspect of Sega marketing was the use of celebrity endorsement, particularly in sports games, but also in more standard fare such as Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. This tied in well with Sega's idea of marketing the console in a cool way and targeting the older teenage audience who were tired of childish Nintendo products. In 1991, this cool image was boosted by the arrival of Sega's new mascot, as the super-speed blue hedgehog Sonic blazed across our screens to run circles around Nintendo's fat Italian plumber. But 1991 was also the year Nintendo decided to hit back by releasing the more powerful Super Nintendo with a bigger colour palette and better sound than Sega's console. The 16-bit console war was now well and truly underway. However, Nintendo's strategy of locking down publishers was about to backfire on them, as many couldn't wait to see the tyrant fall, so companies like Namco, Acclaim and Konami threw their full support behind the Mega Drive, squeezing every last drop of power out of the inferior hardware and focusing on intensely brilliant gameplay to create some fantastic games such as Splatterhouse 3 and the somewhat unusual Echo the Dolphin, while Sega's in-house teams had grown competent enough to produce the likes of Strider and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, not forgetting the massive library of sports games created by Electronic Arts, all of which spurred on the console's success, helping it to overcome the Super Nintendo. And by the end of 1993, after the release of the cheaper Mega Drive 2 console, as well as a full-gore version of arcade hit Mortal Kombat, compared to Nintendo's kid-friendly No Blood variant, Sega's market share in Europe had risen to 66%, leaving them the clear winner. Unlike Nintendo, Sega had also opted to include backwards compatibility with Master System games via an adapter for the cartridge port, as well as the use of Master System components within the console itself, helping gamers find motivation to upgrade their console without feeling like they were losing out. American gamers also had the opportunity to download games cheaply via the Sega channel using a console adapter and their cable TV service, even offering previews of upcoming games as well as a number of competitions and tips, something we now take for granted in the age we live in with services like Xbox Live and the PlayStation Network. It's now time to take a look at the hardware itself and a few of the games to see what made the Mega Drive such a phenomenal success. Right, so here we are with both of the main Mega Drive hardware variants. Got the version 1 over here first, which is my favourite. Just think it's a much more pleasing design. Firstly on top then you have the cartridge slot there. You then have this little venting area. Gold lettering to indicate this is a 16-bit system. Bearing in mind that obviously Sega really wanted to push the 16-bit over the 8-bit architecture. Power LED light there. On-off button here. Reset button. And a volume control for the headphones, which you could plug into the system via the headphone port on the front here. Quite cool to be able to have headphones so you don't have to annoy your parents with the TV or anything. Good little feature there. Also on the front you have your Player 1 and Player 2 controller ports, exactly the same port types as on the Master System. Around the back you have all your connections, so you have your RF connection for the TV, your AV connection for the TV, and your power supply adapter port. Underneath you get the usual warnings and stuff that we've come to expect, and behind this little flap here is an expansion port for the Mega CD. Moving on to the Mega Drive 2 then, you can see it's much smaller than the original and thinner as well. The buttons are now red, so you have your power button, your power LEDs here, and your reset button, both in red. Cartridge door here, more centrally aligned, and all the usual Sega 16-bit Mega Drive 2 markings on there. You'll also notice when you look at the front and obviously from the top that the headphone port is now gone, and obviously as a result of that the headphone volume control is gone as well. No point having that one without the other. Your controller ports are still at the front here, still 2 ports, still the same controllers as the Mega Drive 1, and they're entirely interchangeable. The only difference is the colour of the start button on them. Around the side then again you can see the expansion port there for the Mega CD. In this case it's exposed because I've just pulled this system off my Mega CD Mark II. Around the back you notice the RF connection has been scrapped, again to save money, and you now only have the AV connection and the power supply connection at the back. This was obviously designed to be a cheaper variant to really put the last nail into the Super Nintendo's coffin to say, look, here is our system. It's cheaper. Buy it, it's cheaper. Underneath, you'll see this one actually has a mounting plate on it, again for connecting it to the Mega CD, but there is nothing else interesting under there anyway. The control pads, for those of you who haven't seen them, are this here. They're very, very comfortable to hold. You can hold these control pads very easily. They just fit comfortably into the palm of your hand. The D-pad on them is brilliant. It's a very nice rolling feel. I like that a lot. You've got your start button here, which as I said is red for the Mega Drive 2 and would be white for the Mega Drive 1. You also then have your A, B and C buttons here. With the idea, apparently there is a rumour that the third button was only added so that the system would have one more button than the NES. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I doubt it, to be honest with you. And then obviously the Super Nintendo came along and had 4. There you go, button rivalry. Interesting. A nice long piece of cord for connecting it, and obviously the plug at the end. Games come in nice sturdy boxes like this, and we know how I feel about sturdy boxes for my games. These are the same as the Master System boxes, nice and solid and supportive, unlike cardboard boxes which Nintendo used. The very cool Mega Drive logo there, which obviously when the Mega Drive 2 was released and things started to change a little bit, the logos that were on these boxes changed and the design changed as well. They eventually did away with this black netting effect. Inside the box you find your game cartridge, which looks like this, and that simply slots into the top of either of the consoles like that, and you're ready to play Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster's Hidden Treasure.
And here it is. This is one of my favourite platformers of all time. I just think it's a brilliant game and I recommend it to absolutely anyone. It's full of fantastic Looney Tunes, well, Tiny Toons characters all the way through. There are loads of diverse worlds to be in, including completely different enemies and all kinds of little gadgets and things. And it's just a very, very playable game. The music's great too. It's really cartoony, really fun. It's one of those rare games where anyone can enjoy it. I think it's, you know, you can be an adult and enjoy it, or you can be a kid and enjoy it for its cartoony goodness. It's a fantastic game. Obviously, as you can see, you collect carrots as you go around, which help you earn special moves. In times like this, you can use those special moves to call on a Looney Tunes character to come and help you, so he'll now come and kill everyone on the screen. There are various Looney Tunes characters available through that as you go through the game. For example, Roadrunner becomes available at one point and will dart through the screen killing everything there. Collecting all the bells in a world takes you to a special stage, if I remember rightly. And then at the end of the level, you go through that famous black circle back to the world map. I love the music in this game, it's brilliant. So then we'll move on to a boss fight here. This is the mad scientist who is taking over Looney Tunes characters using her mind control helmets and turning them against Buster. This first boss fight is very easy, but it does get harder eventually. Anyone who has a Mega Drive, I definitely recommend you go and get this game if you don't have it already. It is a fantastic platformer. It's got everything going for it. Really, in my eyes, this game doesn't do anything wrong. Great characters, great music, great gameplay, great animation. Great variety. Fantastic game. Next up then, the arcade hit Super Smash TV. Sure everyone is familiar with this top-down kill or be killed game. For those that aren't, you're starring in a futuristic TV game show. Kind of like the Running Man. You'll see in the top left every now and again we keep winning prizes like a new VCR or a toaster. There are various power-ups to collect as you go along, as well as money. It's very similar to the mini-game on Call of Duty Black Ops, the zombie arcade mini-game. There are two ways to control this. I'm actually using one control pad at the minute, where the directional pad obviously moves me around. Pressing A fires in the direction I'm going, and pressing B fires behind me. Or you can play using two pads, where one pad will move you around via the directional pad and the other you can use to fire in any direction. So that's quite a clever little feature. As you can see, you choose your route through the game show's various rooms until you eventually reach the final fight. It's a very, very difficult game and best played two-player in my opinion. So you've got someone to cover your back. Again, if this isn't a game you've played before, if this isn't a game you've even seen before, then I recommend you try and pick it up. even if it's just the arcade version on MAME or something like that. Another brilliant game, and done very well for an early Mega Drive game. I cannot believe I died there. One guy left. Idiot. Last up then, Zero Tolerance by Accolade. This is a, as you can see, it's a pseudo 3D game and it's done really well. The voice synthesization there is really good, it's really clear, you don't have to struggle to hear what she's trying to say. Obviously the actual viewing window is quite small in your helmet, purely because the console wasn't capable of displaying this full screen. But it still looks good. The game is very atmospheric. There is something quite intimidating about this game, whether it's the environment or the music, or obviously both combined. It also never gives you enough ammunition to be comfortable. Only ever gives you enough to get through. You can see I've run out there, and I've picked up just enough bullets off that guy to take someone else out. Where's he gone? Oh, he's behind me.
Ammunition is low. Medipack collected.
The enemies do respond to you, so obviously you can see there that guy moved towards the door after I opened it, and you can use that to your advantage to bait them in rather than running into a room and being surrounded, like I'm going to do now, and run out of ammo. This is another brilliant game. You could lose a lot of time to this game. Like I say, it's very atmospheric, and considering the capabilities of the console, it's a very good looking game. It does what it tries to do. It makes this pseudo Doom-esque 3D world. Another game that's definitely worth a pickup.
So despite technically inferior hardware, Sega's Mega Drive had managed to dethrone Nintendo, and it seemed like all they had to do now was sit tight and enjoy the ride. But Sega got nervous and started looking at ways to extend the life of the console. Firstly by releasing the Mega CD add-on, allowing CD compatibility for better sound in games, and also allowing the use of full motion video while increasing the maximum size of the games themselves and the memory of the console. While this can't be considered a failure by any means, it was adopted by less than half of Mega Drive owners, and was enough to convince Nintendo to scrap their own CD-based add-on. Yet it didn't discourage Sega from releasing the 32X add-on in 1994 to compete with the Super FX enhancement chips being included in several Super Nintendo game cartridges, including Starwing. This time the add-on totally bombed, leaving Sega looking stupid, while Nintendo just kept releasing games waiting for Sega to run out of steam. Which, as we all know, is exactly what happened after the release of countless Mega Drive hardware variants, including the fantastic portable Nomad system in 1995. Regardless of this though, Sega had shown that Nintendo could be beaten, and undoubtedly changed the video game market, helping shape it into the competitive, fast-paced and highly innovative industry it is today. Not bad work for an underestimated slab of black plastic destined for third place. Today, there are many plug-and-play devices loaded with the best Mega Drive games straight out of the box, offering a cheap and easy entry into 16-bit Sega gaming. And the original hardware can be picked up cheaply enough. For more information, feel free to drop me a question via the comments box or our Twitter page. And don't forget to tune in again next week for more from ReplayRetro.